Welcome to this episode of Inside Legal ESG. My name is Pamela Cone, and I am pleased to serve as the host for this podcast series. We have with us today a very special guest, Maria Laura Farrapeira. She is General Counsel of AB Mauri in Latin America. She is a board member of Women Corporate Directors. She is a member of Capítulo Argentina, and she's an ESG leader and IND certified trainer. Also, she's a member of Global Impact Lawyers, also known as GALE. Welcome, Maria Laura. We're so pleased to have you with us today.
Thanks you, Pamela, to receive me and to invite me and give me the opportunity to share my thoughts with you.
Well, and I know our audience will learn a lot from your sharing your thoughts. So let's start out with, tell me about your career and how you got to be General Counsel at AB Mauri.
Oh, okay. I won't tell you my age, but I have more than 30 years of professional working as a lawyer, and I started during the 90s as a lawyer specialized in taxes and tax organizations and M&A in Coopers and Lybrand, now PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers. I worked there.
I'm old enough to remember the Lybrand.
Young people don't. I've been working there for 11 years. I started as how this Big Four now works, that you started from a very low position and you go up to manager. It was a very exciting time in Argentina this time, in South America, because we have very good economic period. So I did a lot of M&A, which is my first passion in my working life, privatizations, bonds emission, shares emission, etc. Then came the 20s, with one of our Argentine economic crisis. And at the same time, I moved to a very good, well-known law firm called Bronson Salas. And there I changed my main work to more commercial and to refinancing. I learned a lot about arbitration and mediation, because we had to refinance all the bonds we issued in the previous decade, unfortunately. But it was great for me because I learned a lot about that. And then, and also I devote myself more on commercial law, these kind of things. During an M&A process, one of my clients sold the business to Associated British Foods. And so I kept on working as advisor, external lawyer for them. And after a couple of years, they offered me the position as General Counsel for AB Mauri in Hispanoamerica. And I doubted quite a lot, because I love working for law firms, because I love diversity and, the excitement of different things, different clients, different problems to solve, etc. But finally I accepted, because I am responsible for 8 countries, and also for other businesses other divisions of the group that are doing businesses in the region. They don't have plants as AB Mauri have, but I also help them with, distributions agreement, etc. And I've been here for 18 years, and I love it. Though I was a bit afraid at the beginning, then it turned out to be a very good decision, because I started to learn a lot of other things, other areas of the law, like environmental, governance, compliance, antitrust, etc. And so that's why after some years I became the responsible for RSD, RSA, and now we call it ESG. And this links with, and this is my new passion. I link it with my personal life also, because it has to also to do with my personal values, you know. So I'm very happy. Of course, I keep all the other things, the commercial stuff and all that, and I also love doing that. But I add the ESG part, and I'm very happy doing that.
So for those who aren't familiar with AB Mauri, tell us what it is.
Oh, AB Mauri, it's yeast and bakery ingredients division within the group Associated British Foods, which is a British company, a British group that is quoted is listed in the London Stock Exchange.
Yeah. Okay.
They are owners of Twinings, Primark. It's a very diverse portfolio. But AB Mauri is one. ABF has 5 divisions, 5 lines of businesses, and AB Mauri is the one devoted to yeast and products for bakers.
Okay, excellent. So what are you seeing as the hottest emerging trend around ESG right now? You said ESG is now the favorite part of your work. What are you seeing is the hottest?
Of course, everything related to sustainability, meaning mainly environmental issues, governance, depending which country we are talking about, and social. And when I'm talking about that, I'm thinking that the most challenging or the emerging trend that we'll see is how to work with our supply chain in a sustainability way, in a sustainable way, you know, taking into account all the stakeholders we have in the supply chain.
And you mentioned governments. Tell me more. I think I know what you're going to say, but tell me more there.
Well, the thing is that my biggest challenge sometimes is to deal with unfair competition, meaning that there are other competitors in the countries where we work that do not have the same standards that we do have, especially regarding governance. Nothing to say about the other ones, of course, but governance, it's important. There are smaller companies, privately owned companies, maybe I have experienced it in various opportunities that they don't follow the laws that that are enforceable in each country, and not even respecting minimum human rights, you know what I mean, and this kind of things. So to be competitive in a market like that, it's difficult for companies like the one I work for, you know, because the price, I mean, your costs, of course, are bigger or higher than the other ones, and nevertheless you have to compete, and so that's why I call it an unfair competition.
So at our next week, you're going to be one of the speakers at the Legal ESG Latin America event, and your session is going to be talking about the role that the board of directors plays when managing risk through the ESG framework or when making strategic decisions about ESG. So tell me how you work with your board at AB Mauri. And I know I'm going to get more of this at the session next week, but just give us.
Well, as I said, my challenge is to make the board acknowledge and take into account that our ESG priorities goes together with our business strategy. I think that's the only way that you can succeed with ESG. I mean, we cannot talk about everything only at the theoretical point level. You know what I mean? We have to translate that into a concrete, a very specific policy and a very link to the business strategy, so that we can see the revenue and the benefits of this policy gets into the business. And that's how I approach it at the board. Always with figures, always with a clear report of the environment, talking about our stakeholders, our competitors, etc. And you always have to be on top of what is coming, you know, about new trends, new regulations, etc. So more or less, this is how.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I think too often companies think of ESG as something separate that's happening over here, and we do our board decision making over here, and it just is never going to work. The board decision making has to be in the ESG framework for it to be embedded and for it to be successful and to take advantage of those opportunities. What litigation topics are you seeing with respect to ESG that are prominent right now?
Well, in my region, I've been thinking about that. And in my region, there's not too much litigation yet, but mainly all the litigations I know about or I also face are related to environmental issues, mainly. Because I think if we talk about the three letters on ESG, environmental is the one that is more developed or for more years, you know. And as we are, our business is an industrial one. I mean, we do have a lot of impact on the environment. So directly with our plants, with our sites. I imagine for a service company, it's a bit different. You know what I mean? So all the litigations I see in our region are related more to environmental issues and indirectly with compliance. You also can see something regarding compliance, but in this case, we are talking about fraud, these kind of things. You know what I mean? Yeah. But regarding social, I haven't seen much yet. You know, discrimination, only about maybe discrimination, but not to the point that because I don't want to say that as we don't have this litigation, it means that we are okay. You know what I mean? It's just because I think that we are a bit behind the rest of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm taking it then that greenwashing litigation cases are not flourishing in Latin America like they are in the US and the UK.
No.
Okay, not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. And I hope that with the new rules from the European Union, let's see what's going on about that with the omnibus package, etc. But I think that these rules, CSRD and CSDD, they are here to stay. Maybe we have to delay or to do it a bit more slowly. That's what I think. That maybe the process was a bit overshooting, you know, making it so urgent. I think that it would be difficult to a lot of companies in different countries to comply with it for next year. So I think that a bit of delay, we would see this delay, but these laws are here to stay. I'm happy. I'm happy.
Yeah, I agree. It might be
Yeah,
slower, but they're definitely going to be
yeah,
going to work, and it just may take us a
yeah,
while to get there. Tell me
yeah.
about GALE for those listeners who don't know what the Global Association of Impact Lawyers is. Tell us about that association.
Oh, I'm very happy to be part of Gale. And now this year they appointed me as one of the representatives for the board in Latin America. And so I'm very excited with this new challenge. It's a network mainly for lawyers that think and believe that sustainability is the way to do business in the now and for the future. It's a worldwide network, and I'm a close friend of one of the founders of Gale, and I think that it's a very important platform for us to discuss at a technical level or intellectual level, but then taking with as all the members we come from different backgrounds, meaning I work for a big corp, others work for law firms or small companies, etc. I think that's the beauty of the network, that not only the diversity from countries, but also from background of the members. So I think, and I have that I like that we would be able to approach all the problems we are facing with sustainability, to approach them in a practice in a practice way, of course, with a technical approach and a professional approach, but then translating that to practical rules and practical recommendations for the members and whoever wants to share with us their problems, the way they are facing all the context we are facing now.
So you mentioned the challenges ahead of us. What do you think is in store for ESG and the legal profession in 2025?
Well, we touched a bit about that. I think that double materiality could be a thing, a subject, or something that we have to work hard on it, because I think that is here to stay. And I think we are implementing that in my company, because one of our shareholders is from the European Union, not from UK. So we are working on that, and I find that despite the fact it's a lot of work, it's very complex, I think you take a lot of knowledge, a lot of information from your own business, from your clients, from your suppliers, and from your stakeholders. And it helps you also to organize your policies and the way you approach the subject. Because, for example, in my case, we have a lot of policies regarding ESG, but they are more or less scattered. I don't know, the procurement team has their own rules, legal has others, so doing this work, this task, help us to organize everything we have from an ESG perspective, and consolidating and seeing where we have more opportunities to develop.
You're not the first person that I hear that from, that going through the exercise, even though it's painful and it requires resources and it's laborious, you actually learn a lot and therefore can make improvements in a lot. And align and make something more holistic than scattered as you described it. So I think it's a good exercise, but you're right. It is resource intensive and time intensive and laborious. So in this challenging time with everything that's changing daily, if not even more quickly than that, what gives you hope? This is my final question in the minutes we have left. I always love to ask my guests, what gives you hope?
That everybody could be able to do business in a sustainable way. I have hope because younger generations, I think they are more convinced than our generations about that. And I think that this is the point, that it's not just a fashion thing. It's not because we have to do that because it's a law, but it's something that business people are convinced that this is the way to do a sustainable business, to have a sustainable business in our world, in our current world, for us and for the next generations. This is my hope.
And in fact, it's like the only viable way forward long term, right? Can't continue. Current status quo is not sustainable in any sense of the word.
Yeah.
So to be viable long term, society has to pivot, and we have to pivot to doing things in a much more sustainable way.
Yeah.
So much for your insights today. I'm sure our audience got a lot out of it. And for those of you who are listening to the podcast, and if you haven't yet registered for the Latin America Legal ESG, you can still do so. It takes place on March 20th, and you can hear more from Maria at that event. Thank you so much, Maria.
Thanks you, Pamela, and see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, take care.